All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army Match Week 25. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Premier League, where we'll talk Arteta's Masterclass, Forest's rebound, and perhaps we'll get to Aston's villainous spending. Halftime, we got a Jhon Duran related weekly What If, and perhaps Compliment Corner. Round the World Champions League plus MLS transfer talk with the Minuteman himself. And then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties. And we got a group intro question, so everybody's getting the same one this time. We will start with the Minuteman himself, Mr. Tyler Terrence. Most memorable, and in fact, you're going to have kind of you got a longer list than some of us because you've been at a lot of games for here. But most memorable goal you've ever seen in person live?
Oh, I think it would have to be Messi at Soldier Field, Copa America Centenario 2016 free kick. It was that free kick paired with two other goals. He scored a hat trick off the bench against Panama in 27 minutes, and the free kick capped it off. I'm pretty sure. That was honestly one of the coolest experiences that I've had at a soccer game. That goal itself, and I think I still have it on video somewhere.
I was at the one where he came off the bench and just scored a boatload of goals.
That's that one. That's the same one. Yeah, we were at the same game together. We had no idea who each other were. Just ships passing in the night.
We've
memories.
We've made so many steps since then. So many friendships, so many relationships along the way. Mitchell Goulet, overtime, aka overtime Mitch. Best or most memorable goal that you've seen live?
I don't think I've seen all that many culturally important goals live. But I've seen...
No, but name a culturally important goal, like important to the culture.
Aguero's goal to, get City the title,
right.
Like big moment, like
Landon Donovan against Algeria.
My dad saw the Kurt Schilling bloody sock game. Like that's a culturally important thing.
Okay. I was just curious as to what culture. I thought, was it specific to a country or to like?
All right. So, the one that sticks out for me was Tejon Buchanan's late equalizer in the Eastern Conference semifinals against NYCFC. It was a freezing cold night at Gillette. We did end up losing that game. This is Tejon Buchanan back when he played for the New England Revolution. We did end up losing that game. There was no hope at all. And then out of nowhere in the 117th, 118th minute, Tejon Buchanan pulled an equalizer out of thin air. And then we went to lose it. But that was a fun one. That had a real stadium pop in a stadium that I had never heard a soccer pop for. I call that the most memorable one I've seen live.
I think that's almost culturally relevant. It's probably one of the bigger soccer
ask
pops.
Anybody about that one. Yeah, they'll remember.
In the Boston area.
I think I'm the only non-Revs fan who remembers that goal. I was like, I remember.
Yeah. Mine's actually a very easy one. 2007. Take you back to the Gold Cup final. Mitch, I don't even know if you were born then, but we were playing Mexico in Soldier Field in the Gold Cup final. It was 97% Mexico fans. Nice. Me and my buddy John, we somehow managed to finagle some 50 yard line seats, completely surrounded in every way, shape, and form by Mexico fans. Benny Feilhaber, that volley that he scored was just amazing, and it was just a great game. We got out of there without getting punched. We almost got hit by numerous cups full of liquid of some sort. Didn't get hit by that. Got a W. It was one of those just memories that will go down forever in my brain, which doesn't hold on to a lot of memories, but that one will stick forever. All right, we will go to promo time. Kick It, the all-in-one soccer tennis set that everybody needs to look into and invest in. Tyler, tell us a little bit about it.
That's right. You're probably still sitting on that $100 or that Visa gift card that you got for the holidays, and you're like, what do I use this on? Kick It is the answer. A game that is sort of like a soccer tennis grab and go spike ball that you're going to want to play during the summer months. You can play it indoors, you can play it outdoors, but preferably outdoors, preferably on the beaches of Lake Michigan. But that's a very specific example. But when you're checking out of the basic soccer tennis set, you can get 25% off if you type in the code SAM25. That's SAM25. Kick It are awesome sponsors. They've been sponsors with us now for a couple of months. We're glad to have them aboard. And Kick It is just sort of like an awesome game. It's soccer tennis. You can play it 1v1. You can play it 2v2. But at the end of the day, it's a game for everybody. You don't have to be, incredibly technically gifted like our buddy Mitchell Goulet over here. You simply can just be an average Joe. You can, be like Kukurea and you could still play. So anyway, yeah, Kick It, Sam25 discount code.
Good shout. Good shout. All right, we'll move on to the Premier League, where we got to talk. There were so many interesting games this past weekend. We had, just off the top of my head, Fulham beating Newcastle at Newcastle. We had United losing at home to Palace. Forest bouncing back big from their loss to Bournemouth. They won 7-0 over Brighton. Bournemouth, coming off of that big win over Forest, got beaten soundly by Liverpool. But I think, I'm not even going to ask you guys, because I think we got to start in North London, where, of course, the talk of the town is Tottenham. We got to win. We got to win, boys and girls. That's all. No, it's actually going to be the 5-1 shit kicking that Arsenal put on Manchester City. I think a lot of us could see Arsenal come out of that game with a win. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that it would be 5-1. Tyler,
you say that, and like
as bad as their defense has been, that's true.
No. But what I'm saying is like the game was unfolding, and I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Mm-hmm. City look like shit. Arsenal are a good soccer team. City have been shit. Like, I agree. There, in no world should we be enduring this and like having to watch Arsenal pump Man City 5-1. Like, that doesn't. But given the way everything was unfolding and like Arsenal teenagers coming on and scoring goals, and you're just sort of like, what? This is if there was any other game, whether it was the Brentford one, whether it was the Ipswich, whatever, this was the game where I was like, this is the turn of the tide. This is the changing of the guard. This is the moment that I will cement now as City are done. They're moving into a new era, and Arsenal are super legit. Because if you remember, like, some of Liverpool's bigger moments were when teenagers were coming out of the academy and starting to produce immediately at a really high level and influencing games. And I think that this is going to be a huge proof of concept for Arsenal, because those are signings that you don't have to spend money on, and those are signings that, want to play for the badge and are just hungry and are eager to play and have been in the system for years. So, I mean, across the board, just like I agree with you. Never did I think it would be 5-1, but like the way that the game unfolded, I'm like, this makes sense. And City have been dog shit, and this is what happens when you play against a title-threatening club. You get pumped.
Mitch?
I'll agree with that, but only after we responded to Haaland's goal. And I was really happy with how we responded as well, because in the past we have kind of folded and not taken the game back after conceding, but rather just tried to maintain and stuck with what we were doing. Luckily enough, what we were doing was working, and the goals kind of poured on towards the end. But you're right. This was the straw that broke the camel's back, the drop of water that broke the dam, whatever analogy you want to use. But it was a flood. And you could see it in the quality of the chances that we created as well. Like in that first half, there were numerous times, balls that should have been finished. Kai Havertz, I'm looking directly at you, buddy. Directly at you. That's a center back.
I was watching with my in-laws, and I just like had a burst. I just like laughed out loud. I just chuckled when he missed it, and everybody was like, "Aren't you watching a soccer game? Like, what's so funny?" And I was just like, "This fucking guy."
Yeah, there's layers of context you need here. Don't worry. But no, I'm glad he was able to come back and get on the score sheet during garbage time. But that was a fun one. That one felt good. A lot of conversation about how we reacted. I don't put any stake into that. Folks, players are allowed to celebrate goals. Players are allowed to celebrate wins. And I'm really happy with how we responded in that game. and how we conducted ourselves. That was a feel good.
So the more fun things to talk about aren't really, about the X's and O's and the gameplay and everything, sort of the celebrations and the stuff that quickly on the actual gameplay. I was looking at the XG. You guys only had an XG of 1.00 in that game and scored 5 goals.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's just sort of cementing the fact that XG is only so useful. XG is only so useful, I guess, is what that's saying.
It is only so useful.
What was your guys' XG against Brentford? You powerhouse of XG statistician. You.
First of all, I had to find something to shit on Arsenal about after they just shit pumped a team like that. Our XG against Brentford was 0.6. I mean, Brentford's, by the way, 2.06. Yikes. Yeah, but back to City and Arsenal. I mean, Granted, I don't love anything Arsenal ever does. I did respect the hell out of Lewis Skelly for his celebration. The thing between Gabriel and Haaland, that doesn't really, I don't know. It just sort of seems like it's a great battle. The fact that Gabriel laughed in his face and then Haaland came back and scored the goal, that's just soccer. I don't really have any issues with that. I love the celebration for Lewis Skelly, and then the fact that you had a 17-year-old. So Lewis Skelly's 18. Then you had a 17-year-old come and score another goal. Oh, that is tough.
How confident did he look with that strike, though?
He always does.
I know.
I mean, even in the midweek too, I noted that he was the only one that really looked like he wanted to and had the ability to take players on, take shots from outside the box, just take chances. Not terrified of losing the ball and needing to make the right pass and decision every time with the ball. He plays with a freedom that only players under 21.
He plays with the freedom of a 17-year-old who literally has nothing to lose right now.
Exactly. Exactly. And I pray he keeps that, because that's what makes him so exciting to watch. But yeah, God.
But when you guys inevitably sell Bukayo Saka to Al Nassr for 175 million and Nwaneri becomes the guy, then you guys are fucked. I don't want to hear
a single cent of that. Don't put that out in the universe. I felt that Nwaneri goal in my plums. These guys, before he had even come on, mind you, at the 80th, he came on around the 82nd. I said, Nwaneri 90th +2. Watch this. I was a minute off, but still.
Not bad. Not bad. I will say Declan Rice. Holy shit, that guy was good. He was worth every cent of that transfer deal based on that game alone. He's just everywhere. He is very good. City, on the other hand, their defense, we've sort of been talking about this. Their defense is just not that good. They give up some of the worst mistakes and the worst chances. It's crazy. I saw a stat that the errors directly leading to goals, or at least chance on goals, they've already got more so far through this season than they had all last season, and I assume probably more than every other season in the recent run. I don't know what the deal is. They're just bad.
Well, so you have Nunez at right back, which is not even kind of his position, and then you have two ball-playing center backs in Stones and Akanji. Gvardiol's good. I think Gvardiol's been one of the bright spots.
He needs to go to a real club.
Yeah, right. He needs to go to a proper title contender. Somewhere red, brother. We'll have you. But they're asked to play out of the back. It feels like sixes turned to center backs that are not being asked to, defend. I mean, they're making mistakes and they're passing and ball playing mistakes, which should be their strengths. I can't quite describe it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's they are playing in Pep's system, and Pep is forcing them to play in that system, and they're just not perhaps up to it. The Ortega mistake that Tyler already touched on, Foden's mistake, I think, led directly to the second goal. It's just sort of very uncharacteristic for some of them, anyway. Yeah, that was a shit pumping. Next, behind that game, there are still a lot of interesting games. Forest 7-0. Liverpool taking just doing the business to Bournemouth, and this is a Bournemouth team that was as hot as any team around. Mm-hmm. Where do you want to go next, Mitch?
We can go Liverpool Bournemouth, and I'll note this by saying that I should have edited Tommy's Bournemouth preview earlier. I was sick during the week and just didn't get around to it. It's a great preview. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you're subscribed to Sam's Army Patreon, Tommy has Talking Tactics with Tommy. Once a week, he drops a really, really in-depth breakdown of usually Premier League clubs, but sometimes it's a player, sometimes it's a coach. And the guy just knows the game on a level that you don't. So check it out. But Liverpool, Bournemouth. I expected better from Bournemouth, and I think Liverpool are better than we have given them credit for.
Oh my God! I
that
cannot
was
believe you just said that shit out loud.
I mean, first of all, I actually completely agree with Mitch because we haven't been fondling Liverpool's balls all season the way you have been. So you get a momentary, just sort of welcome to my level
gift,
here.
No. The gift to me now is I get to just sit back and listen to you two do it, and you have to do it genuinely. You have to do it as if there isn't an insufferable Liverpool fan on the podcast right now.
That's tough. That's tough.
Go. I won't say anything, and I promise I won't say a word, and we can move on to the next game afterwards. But you guys have to talk about it now.
I mean, the fact that Sloot just stepped in and he didn't just kind of keep things going. He made the team better in whatever his own image. I mean, it's a credit to him and a credit to the team, and obviously a credit to the front office, the smart money moves that they've made. It's just this team is a very, very good team, and the fact that they just felt there was just no, you got to give a new coach sort of a time, to implement his strategy and his tactics and all, and then just his philosophy. And you guys didn't need that. You guys just hit the ground running, and there's been no. Maybe there will be, but there has been no sort of off period where it's like, okay, they were on that high, and the honeymoon period. The honeymoon period has lasted 7 months and counting, and showing no signs of slowing down. So there's my ball cuppage for now, Mitch.
I think Sloot, better than most coaches, understands his players' strengths and when to bring them on. It's so evident in how he rotates, whether, who he plays in the midweek and who he plays on the weekends, and how he sets up. It's just tactically, you guys are set up to win every game, and that's more than you can say for a lot of other coaches in the Premier League. Sam, you want to talk about the XG for that game? Like, I don't know. Liverpool, it was a back and forth game. Like, don't get me wrong, Bournemouth had chances, but it never really felt like it was.
No, it was back and forth. Bournemouth is just a good team, right? They weren't they're not shown to be frauds or anything by this game. They're just a good team, and they came up against a better team. Bournemouth did have some chances. They didn't score any of them. Obviously, they lost 2-0. But I also didn't have the sense that Bournemouth was ever really putting up a fight. Like they were in it, and they could have scored, and you never know, but it just felt like this is Liverpool's game, and there's just been a lot of that lately. And obviously that PSV game in Champions League is a completely different sort of ball of wax given the people that Sloot played. But they're just good, and they're going to win the title. I think that's pretty much all I got to say about that.
We'll see what you do with your game in hand. We'll see.
Are you anything you want to add there, Tyler, or did we do enough fluffing?
You did enough fluffing. What you said, I said 2.5 months ago about Sloot stepping.
You said that prospectively and out of optimism and just out of hope.
2.5 months ago was not out of optimism. 2.5 months ago, we were still exactly where we were, which is atop the table. 2.5 months ago, I was just saying what inevitably I knew what you guys were going to be saying when you finally came to terms with it. I just happened to see it earlier than all of you. That's all. Just like I saw the Forest thing earlier than all of you.
Oh, I think we're all.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, that's actually a good transition there. So Forest, coming off of just a shit kicking at Brighton, they lost 5-0, bounced back in a big way.
I thought they were cooked after that game.
Right.
I sold Chris Wood. I was like, I think that this whole thing is going downhill. And downhill meaning you drop like 3 or 4 results and then you come back and then you probably land in Europa League somewhere. But I did not see that. That was exercising some demons from the previous weekend. And I feel like Nuno, when's the last time? I don't think a Nuno team has ever scored more than like 4 goals, let alone what they just did.
It just kept coming. I mean, like, 5 goals for Arsenal is kind of like, well, you can see that happening. So 7 goals for Forest. I mean, part of that, I was just impressed with Forest because, they took one on the chin. You don't lose 5-0 that often if you're a real good team. In fact, I think somebody said that on this podcast. Like, if you're a real top team, you do not lose a game by 5 goals. And then to bounce back the way they did was very impressive. One thing we haven't really talked about, I didn't put it in the text or anything, but like Brighton, what is Brighton's deal this season? They're like the team. There's always a team. Sometimes it was Everton a couple seasons ago. This season, it's Brighton. I just don't really understand what's going on with Brighton.
Young team, young team, young coach. I mean, the dude's my age. Imagine putting me in charge of a Premier League team. This is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get lots of ups and a lot of downs. Like it's as simple as that. I mean, like what do we talk about all the time with youth? Youth is going to inevitably produce inconsistency, and when you're dealing with the coach who barely has hair on his balls, like he's going to learn on some away days, and some like he's going to have to figure things out on the fly. And not for nothing, but he's dealing with a lot of talent that's raw talent that he has to sort of bring up along the way while he's going through his own growing pains. So I'm not terribly surprised that this is the way that it's going. I mean, I think that we were all a little infatuated with the Roberto De Zerbi days and the Graham Potter days, but the truth of the matter is that this is a sellers club. And like, this is just sort of, this is how it goes sometimes. And I also think that Fabian Hurtzler was probably maybe not ready for this job either, is how that will not sort of be like my overarching headline on this for another year or two, but like that's sort of how I'm seeing it right now. I mean, it's difficult to gain the respect of an entire Premier League locker room when you yourself, even as a player, didn't come anywhere near to the success. Like Jose Mourinho, who wasn't a good soccer player at all. I mean, Sir Alex always talks about how you had to have been at least somewhat of a reputable player to earn that respect immediately when you step onto the training ground. Like Hurtzler, same deal. Like I just don't. I mean, he's been coaching for the past 6 years.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think the other thing about Brighton, they are a sellers club, and they keep bringing in these guys that nobody's ever heard of, and for $5 million when everybody else is spending 65. They just passed up on a deal to sell Matoma for like 100 million or 100 million plus allegedly.
Yeah. I thought that was beyond stupid.
Wow.
Beyond.
That is a wild. Yeah, I mean, like, granted, we don't know that that's a factual number that was actually on the table, but if they did a Brighton, a selling team, wow, that is.
You think that's not? You think that they should have kept him no matter what, Mitch?
No. I was nodding my head as like I'm pretty sure that's a factual number.
Yeah.
Like yes.
Yeah. It's crazy that a selling club like that said no to a number like that. That is wild. Although if it was, we don't really know. Maybe Matoma said no, and in which case, all credit to him.
The verbiage looked like it was Brighton rejected the bid. Not
I read as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think it gets that far along unless the player agrees to terms, initial personal terms. You know what I mean? And then there's the final personal terms. But
yeah, that makes sense. Other games from the weekend. So we're talking about Forest, Brighton, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Brentford, Tottenham. What did I say? 0.8 on our XG. 0.6, whatever it was. 2-0 win. It was one of those games that like wasn't pretty at all, but we got a win. So it's kind of like the anti-Ange.
You did it. You did it. You did what was needed of you to win a Premier League game. Finally, it was so disgusting to watch, but you got 3 points. How does it feel? It
was gross. I was like, God, I was relieved. It was more relief than anything else, which is probably not surprising. I mean, listen, Brentford is tough team to beat, especially at their place of business. But like, I don't know. It's just, it felt like we had a win coming at some point. We hadn't won a game in the Premier League since like November. Sometime it was going to have to happen. And, it sounds like we're starting to get a little healthier and, maybe Ange is getting a little bit more practical. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It felt good. It felt good to win a soccer game. I'll say that.
But what is this like limbo for you feel like though as a fan? Because you're still not completely healthy. You know that like you're not going to get relegated, but you also know that there's no hope of qualifying for Europe. Like this is like a sad existence right now.
Well, not exactly, because we're in all these cups, so we could win a trophy.
Premier League mornings are a sad existence.
Yes, the weekends have been tough lately.
Weekends
It's
suck.
like we're just sort of shipping points away and knowing that we're not going to win before we even show up, and watching this team that isn't like the 11 that we are interested in seeing. It's been rough. It's been very rough. But Van de Ven is back. Romero will be back in the next, say, week or two. We're clearly like getting healthier. So I'm excited, and I'm probably going to be using my what is that, assistant coach FPL card here at some point. Spurs, I feel like everybody's going to use that in the next couple weeks. If you don't, you're a dummy, because we get all those bonus points. I say this having not looked at the schedule, so maybe we have a shit schedule coming up. But anyway, it's just, I feel like we're moving in the right direction. We're getting healthy. We won the Europa. We got into the top 8 in Europa, so we don't have to play in the playoff. That was huge. Now we do have a League Cup second leg coming up this week, which is going to be tough. We'll get to that eventually. But the last couple of months have been tough. It's just like we're waiting to get healthy. It's just a waiting game. We're not doing anything. We're trying to like survive the cups and just, I don't know, put our head in the sand and ignore the results for the Premier League.
What happens when you get your shit kicked in at Anfield and then you get bounced in the round of 16 in Europa League? Then what happens?
Well, this season, it could go. That's the thing about this season. It could go downhill with a quickness. Like, we've got all these cups and the Europa, competitions to sort of hang our hat on, or at least sort of get semi excited about. But those can go away in a real hurry, especially starting on, I think, Thursdays when we play you guys.
Thursday, yep.
So I guess maybe I'm just enjoying it while I can. and we'll see. We'll deal with the disappointment, frustration, anger, and sadness if and when, more likely when, they come up. But that's life as a Tottenham fan. You enjoy the small little tidbits of joy, and then ignore the fact that it's going to come back to bite you in a few weeks. Don't worry about that shit.
Life. Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Not to put you on the spot, injury wise, but who is around the corner to coming back and being healthy? Do you know of any?
Romero.
Okay.
Romero is huge. If we can get him and Van de Ven as our center backs, again, I think this team is a night and day. Just night and day. I don't, who knows with this, if we get Tell from Bayern on loan, sounds like that might be going through. I think
that was confirmed today, which is hilarious, that he initially rejected Levy's offer. Levy flew over to Germany to court him. Levy left. 2 hours later, Tell was like, nah, I'm all set. Then is now going on loan until June.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a buy-on clause. I think Bayern wanted one, but I don't think there is one. So it sounds like, you guys got your center forward.
Hey, listen, it's a best win-win for everybody. All the Tottenham people got their little shots in about, Tell saying fuck off, when in reality, who knows what he actually said or what went down in the negotiations. But yeah, I think he's a good player.
Is Daniel Levy like a sleazy used car salesman that, everybody can sort of see right through, and they're just like, absolutely not. I'm not signing a dotted line on this bullshit. Like,
yeah, I don't think so. I think he's just a hard negotiator, and he's got a number, and if you don't meet it, he's just like, all right, well.
You're like hard negotiating on like a 6-year-old Nissan, Corolla that has 110,000 miles on it. Like, why are you standing firm on your price? You don't really have much legs to stand on.
Yeah, but are we the Camaro?
Yeah, Spurs as an organization are the Nissan Corolla or Toyota Corolla. Sorry. Yeah.
I thought you were taking shots at Matthias Tell or whatever.
No.
Well, I think we're a little bit better than that. We're like a 2014. Nice.
You're in 14th right now. You're a 2006.
Yeah, but we pay the salaries of a top 6, top 7 club. Like, that's what it comes down to. It's not where we are right now. People aren't judging us like
guys. I think everybody outside of Jhon Duran wants to win. I mean, that's sort of like what he's the only guy that really cares about, like, getting paid right now.
I mean, well, listen, nobody ever came to Tottenham to win trophies. Okay,
got that right.
Let's just be honest. Banners, we got a lot of those. Trophies, not so many of those. Other games, Newcastle lost at home to Fulham, two very good teams. Fulham came out on top. Nice little comeback. United losing 0-2 at home to Palace. Amorim, so he went with Manu as a false nine in this game and didn't throw on a striker until 70th minute or so. Just a wild sort of decision. It feels like,
to be fair, they were mildly creative in the first half. Like it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen in the world.
No, Manu had within the first 10 minutes, he had a shot that I think hit off the post. So, he was there, but then I think from then on, Richards, and Gahey and whoever the third center back was, they pretty well shut them down from then on. And he didn't make any changes until like the 70th. Well, it did make changes, but like he didn't throw on a striker until the 70th minute. It just seems like maybe he's overthinking things a little bit here. Like, I don't know. It just, I don't know.
What a slap in the face to both Xerxes and Højlund, though.
Yeah. That's I don't know how you even.
That's a lot of money that you're smacking directly across the face and publicly putting out that lineup and saying, I think that the absolute least of you.
Right, you guys were talking all that shit about like Ange coming out and just saying things like publicly and sort of the words he was using. Amorim did more with that lineup to shit on his players than Ange did.
Not his players,
just two players, two players specifically. Yeah.
Well, he shits on them all the time. I said that he shits on them all the time by saying that they are trying. They're trying. I told you that's like, the kid who's not so bright and, there's just a few screws loose up there and you're just being like, well, he's trying. He's doing his best, but he's just simply not capable of being in honors English. So let's put him back in regulars English.
That's true. That's fair. Just not as many marbles for a full set. Anything else from the weekend, or we can move on? Let's move on. I think we'll get to some of the other games in other news and notes, but let's go FPL quickly, where we're actually not done with the match week. We've still got a Merseyside derby on Wednesday, and I think a lot of people loaded up on Liverpool and Everton players, so I think a lot of people still have some points coming in. But so far, what we have in the Sam's Army Council of Elders, McGunners, Tommy, big week for him. 97. That's because he triple captained.
Yeah, what an asshole. Waiting. I bet you. So he didn't know about any of these because he was asking all the questions about assistant manager, about, wild card, about free hit. I don't think he realized what the triple captain was until last week. He was like, oh, I still have it. And this is a great week to do it. I don't think that was premeditated.
He's got a big brain, but I think you're right on that one. I think he walked ass backwards into that one. So he's got 97 points so far this week, and he still has another game for his triple captain, Mo Salah. So he's going to have some big points there. I think I'm in second so far this week with 84. Oh, McGunners has 97. I have 84. Then, Mitch, 69, TT, 68, and Mikey ringing up the rear. Finally, that guy's been running out ahead of us. He is bringing up the rear with 59 points so far this week. Now, on the podcast league, Sam's Army Podcast League, Cunnerlingus, Rob Carey is still in first. He scored 94 points so far this week, and he has Mo Salah captained, and he's using his assistant manager chip, by the way. Who's he using that on? How do you figure out who? Sloot. He's using his assistant manager chip on Sloot. Interesting play by Rob Carey. Major League Soccer, Fraser Connors in second. Magnets, Patrick Kelly's in third. No Hair, No Mo. Christopher Frost in fourth. And finally, Colt Palmer FC's Aditias TVs, which I always mispronounce. Sorry. So now quickly, I do think we have to do this because we have not done it in forever, and I think it's a good week for it. Power rankings. We also don't have a weekend preview because we got FA Cup and stuff coming up. So power rankings. It's time to do top 4, bottom 3 if they played on a neutral field right now. It's been a while. Mitch, you want to give this a shot?
Sure. The best team in the league is Liverpool. The second best team in the league is Arsenal. The third best team in the league on a neutral ground is Chelsea. The fourth best team in the league is Nottingham Forest.
Okay. Interesting. I don't think anybody's going to argue with you on 1 and 2. but obviously 3 and 4, that's when things get
Absolutely.
interesting.
And then as it goes for the bottom 3, I think Southampton is comfortably the worst team in the league. I don't think anybody will debate on that. And then I don't know, it's almost chalk down there. I like Ipswich. I still think they're capable of staying up. With each week that dwindles a little bit, but I'm still rooting for Ipswich to stay up. So I'll put Leicester below them. Wolves just beat Villa this weekend. I can't do that. Yeah, it's Southampton at the bottom, then Leicester, then Ipswich.
The problem with trying to switch that up too much, Ipswich just lost to Southampton.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, no, yeah.
so you'd have to do some real gymnastics to get them out of the bottom 3.
I still think Southampton is like they're on the bottom.
Braden
you think
asks.
Ipswich is below them?
No, I'm with you on the
Okay.
bottom 3. I might switch the order around a little bit between Leicester and Ipswich, but I think those are the bottom 3. Now it's the top 4 that I think is, well, the 3 and 4 really that we got to talk about here. So Mitch said 3 Chelsea, 4 Nottingham Forest. Braden in the chat, and if you're not in the chat right now, you should be subscribed to the Sam's Army Patreon so you can get in the Sam's Army Discord, and then you can get chat access. But the question that Braden has was, did you watch Chelsea play today?
I did watch Chelsea play today. I thought they gave up a really ugly early goal. Great finish from Bowen, but I still thought that they were pretty head and shoulders the best team, or the better team in that fixture.
So Tyler, how do you respond to his top 4 and specifically 3 and 4? Because I don't think you're going to argue with 1 and 2.
I'm not, and I'm not even going to argue with 3. The problem is like, and I've been the one saying how much we need to sort of like rewire our brains that Manchester City are like the Manchester City of old or anything close to that. However, I look at this Chelsea team and I'm sort of like, are they really better than Man City on any given day? Like this Chelsea team sort of like has been slogging through games recently, and them and City are in almost identical form in their last 5 games. So I'm really torn as to whether or not like my 4 is City or Chelsea.
You have Forest at 3?
But Braden's bringing up I have Forest at 3. But okay. Braden's bringing up this point. Did you watch Chelsea play today? Did you watch City play over the weekend? Like, who do you want to throw in the number 4 spot right now? Are we really going to throw Newcastle in there? Because they just lost to Fulham, which is not like anything to turn your nose up at, but you lost to Fulham. Like, so I don't know. I struggle with 4 significantly. And I wanted to bring this up before. This is a proper fucking battle for the final Champions League spot. I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun for the final, couple of months of the season. So,
and it might actually end up being the final 2, depending on where a coefficient goes.
Yeah.
There might be 5 spots given to the Premier League. But one team I would throw in there, perhaps, just for argument's sake. What about Bournemouth? Yeah, they lost this weekend, but they lost to the best team in the league, and they look decent in doing it. Do you think they have a shout for 4th?
Yeah, why not? I mean, they're only 3 points.
Or 3rd? I mean, they just beat the team that we are saying is the 3rd best team.
They beat the shit out of them too.
And part of this is why that 3 to 6 area is just so heavily disputed, because you can point to any one game in the previous month or so and say, this is why this team deserves to be above this team. In reality, for me, it's just an eye test thing, and I'm not saying that my eye test is superior to any of your eye tests. It's just who I think is a better football team. But yes,
that's fair.
But yes, to answer your question, yeah, Bournemouth absolutely deserve to be in that conversation. And
Peaches in the chat said, yes, we are actually 3rd in home form and 2nd in away form. So I disagree. And that was when we were talking about Chelsea and Forest. I actually, what I will say is I'm going to put Bournemouth as my 4th best. I'm going to put them after Forest, even though they just beat Forest. But I think Bournemouth, for right now, just based on their recent results, their decent form against a very good Liverpool team, I'm going with Bournemouth as my 4th. Weekend preview. So, like I said, we got an FA Cup weekend coming up. So, if there are some games there, you can welcome to throw them out. There are a couple games that we should talk about though before we get to the weekend. There's the League Cup. Is that this week?
Yeah.
Thursday. And then Merseyside as well. Is that this week or is that next week?
Merseyside is next
that's
week.
Later. Okay. So the League Cup is the semifinals, 2nd leg. We got Arsenal playing Newcastle, and they are visiting. So they're going to Newcastle down 2-0. That's on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we got Spurs going to Anfield up 1-0. So let's start with Wednesday and Arsenal visiting Newcastle. Mitch, what are your thoughts on that one?
Put ourselves in a tough spot going down 2-0 and then going away to play. But the way we are playing right now, I think we're best suited, better than any point this season to go away and get a result. Newcastle coming off on disappointing results, but I think they'll get up for this, especially at home. I don't like our chances to win by 3. I just don't. I think we are most poised to do it right now, but the realist in me says that we don't. We draw this game 1-1.
It'll be an interesting one. Newcastle's really kind of been up and down. They've been, some games they look great, some games not so great. But
listen, we get an early goal, the entire script of this game changes. Anything before the 20th minute can energize the shit out of a team and change the entire course of a game for the better and for the dramatic. But I don't know. Well, I'd like it, but I just don't see it in the cards.
Yeah, and Isak is healthy, which Newcastle is just a different.
He was healthy this weekend.
That's true. Fair point.
You know?
Tyler?
I don't think Arsenal has a shot in fucking hell in this game.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. St. James's Park is going to be on fire.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have not won a trophy since 1955. They are going to be 90 minutes away should they close it out with a 2-0 lead. You will not win this game.
Games played between the lines, not in those seats.
I'm just saying, if this is Newcastle's Champions League final. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying. Like, I can appreciate what the teenagers have been doing and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Newcastle is going to muck the living shit out of this game and make sure you guys don't find a rhythm for the entirety of the 90 minutes. All they need to do is see the game out. That's it. So yeah. I just don't see it. This is the closest they're going to come to touching a trophy in a long time. So, yeah.
You're assuming that Newcastle, that's obviously their game plan. You're assuming that they're going to be able to carry that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like when you're asking guys like Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes to go and
no, they can.
That's their game.
Right.
They grew up
you're
doing
right.
that. Like,
I take that one back. Yep, you're right. You're right.
That's fair. And Newcastle's pretty healthy at this point. I know they were having some injury problems, but they're more or less back.
And outside that loss to Fulham, like they've been playing well. And Bournemouth.
I was gonna say the Bournemouth game.
Yeah, no, like they've had their ups and downs. They found their form towards the beginning/middle of that season, and then Isak was really in really good form. If I'm correct, he hasn't scored in a couple weeks, but all this to say he's going to score against us, and it's going to be 3-0 before you know it.
I think that game is going to be an ugly one. I do like Newcastle's chances of sort of moving through in an ugly one. Tottenham visiting Liverpool might not be. I mean, it might be ugly, but it might be a different kind of ugly. I don't like our chances.
Was Ange testing out his tactics for the Liverpool game against Brentford and just saying, what does it look like if we sit and we try to play a little bit more ugly?
Because if he doesn't, you guys might put up 12 on us. If we're going to go run and gun the way we tried before.
Well, surely but everybody knows that you guys will not be able to withstand pressure from Liverpool for 90 minutes. So you're going to have to open yourselves up a little bit. I would try to absorb the first 20 minutes of what is going to be a flurry, and then go from there and try to pick one off between the 20th minute mark and halftime. But other than that, you guys are in for a world of hurting.
I was looking at our injury list. Your injury list is one player right now, Joe Gomez.
Yeah.
That's the only guy who shows up. Ours, we got Brendan Johnson, Romero, Udogie, Solanke, Vicario, Madison. Dragusin just got hurt. He's out through God knows when.
That's a good thing. That's addition by some.
I mean, I don't like to cheer on injuries.
He wasn't
doing
your team
great.
Might have gotten better.
There's a reason I called him Dragon Ass for the last however many months. Werner's out. Odebear's out. I mean, this is just insane. But I do think we'll give you a battle for the first half or so, and I think we'll just succumb. I think we'll probably get tired.
Handball inside of the first 5 minutes.
Solid penalty. God. I don't want to go through that again. Not a fucking oh God. I don't want to relive that one. That one hurts. That one hurts a lot more than this one, even if you guys pound us like is possible. I think that we'll withstand some pressure for a while, and then we'll probably just succumb to the better team.
4-1. 4-1 is the final score on aggregate.
I'd go more. You think we'll score then? I kind of like. I kind of appreciate that.
No, I said on aggregate.
Oh, on aggregate. Okay. I was gonna say 3-0 to this game, so 3-1 on aggregate. That sounds about right. Okay. To be honest with you, but you never know. You never know. Spurs pull every now and again. It's when you never expect. We'll pull something out of our ass. So
you already did. You played that one. You played your assistant manager chip. You played your triple captain in the first leg.
It might be true. All right. Now, any FA Cup games that anybody wants to call out, or are we just moving on?
United Leicester will be fun.
Okay.
Villa Spurs.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing too is that we can roll out our full strength starting 11 against you guys, and then we have Plymouth Argyle, I believe, at home in the FA Cup No, we're on the road for that game. But anyway, yeah. No,
that's a fair point. You guys don't really have the same sort of. Well, first of all, you're already healthy, and then also you can play whoever you want. Yeah, we play. So I think we're at Villa. Yeah, we're at Villa on Sunday. So we could be out of both. We're hanging our hat on the 2 cups. We could be out of both cups in a matter of 72 hours or whatever. So that would not be fun. But we don't think about that in Tottenham world. We don't think about that. All right, we'll move on to halftime, where before we get to the Jhon Duran related weekly what if, it is time to promote Arc Designs. So Arc Designs, I think I'll throw it over to Tyler, but I've just been very impressed with what I've seen from this woodworking. It's like new age, sort of, build your own, except it's with, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Where you basically build everything out of plastic, but it's woodworking.
I don't know what you're talking. Yeah,
no. Whatever.
3D laser printing. Laser engraving actually is what it's called.
Laser engraving.
It's not Swiss. It's actually from a local family-owned company in Cincinnati, Ohio. Shout out to everybody in the Natty here. And if you type in the code SAM25, you'll get 10% off your orders. And you're thinking to yourself while you're walking the dog right now, and he's taking a little number 2 on the sidewalk, and you're just trying to hear about some soccer. You're like, what will I get a discount on? And what you can get a discount on is really one of my favorite products in the house. My beautiful fiance, Shannon, got them for me for my birthday this past summer. And basically, it's 3D laser engraved stadium coasters. That's like the main thing that they make. And you can get a bunch of them. I've got one of Anfield. I've got one of Madison Square Garden, of MetLife. And then based on who's playing, I change them out, for a little good luck juju. Again, as I said on the last podcast, it has not worked for the Jets. It's not a thing. Anyway, but they also make tables. So if you are a huge Chelsea fan and you want a Stamford Bridge 3D laser engraved coaster or table, you can get one. If you want one for some random stadium, maybe you're a Brentford fan, maybe you want a laser engraved coaster or table of the G-Tech, you can do that. Even if it's not up on their website, you can toggle and you can play around with it. And once you get to checkout, you can actually see, put in custom stadium that's not on our website, and you can tell them exactly what you want. You can say Brentford, G-Tech, and you can basically just get the stadium that you want. It might take a little bit longer, but all of the noise in the group chat and in the Discord, and again, if you're not subscribing to Sam's Army Discord, please do, has been that the customer service has been outstanding from Arc Designs. Again, www.arcdesigns.com. That's ARCK. And that's nothing new. Arc has been fabulous to us, both as customers and as partners. Again, SAM25 is the discount code. They do amazing work, and it's just really, really, really cool stuff. The way that they make it, it's run by basically the main designer is an engineer in Cincinnati, no less, obviously with P&G and G having their headquarters here. We just got a boatload of engineers, including my fiance. I am not one of them. I'm an engineer of bullshit through my mouth. But anyway, SAM25 discount code, arcdesigns.com, and you can get whatever stadium you want, any sport you want, and they will do it for you. Thank you again to Arc Designs.
Good shot. What I was trying to think of was 3D printers, because I've seen.
But they're 3D engravers.
I know it's different. It's different, but it's kind of that still new age, like not as old as me, so I don't even understand it type of technology. But sounds awesome, and I'm gonna get on that. And by the way, it sounds like a great gift. It sounds like
is
a
a great
great gift
It is.
idea for people.
Yeah, Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthday. You know, if you're planning your already Christmas, if you're type A, not like me at all, and you're planning your next Christmas list for everybody, then this is a great gift too.
Perfect. Last comment before we actually get fully off the Premier League. JF Queen in the chat said this about the Amorim tried sending a message to the board by playing Manu at 9, which is an interesting thought there. All right, but he might have sent a message to the board. He also sent a message to Xerxes and, and Hoyland. All right, weekly what if. So Jhon Duran just signed with, was it Al Nassr? Al Nassr. So he's playing with Ronnie, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so Johnny Durrani is headed to Saudi Arabia for a boatload of money. That boy is getting paid handsomely. But the big question here is what his life would look like now and several years in the future if he had not gotten that red card against Newcastle, which Mitch and I are still fighting over the legitimacy of. But basically, that red card relegated him to the bench for however many games. Ollie Watkins regained his starting spot, and I think there's an argument to be made. It totally changed the course of sort of his perhaps life, or at least career, as it stands with Aston Villa. So Tyler Terrans, what happens? What if he did not get that red card against Newcastle? Where would he be right now, and where do you see him being differently than otherwise in 5 years?
I was the one who posed this and actually put it in the group chat. I was just like, that red card literally changed everything, because you guys didn't believe me when I said that he's going to be benched for the next several games after he got the red card, because Unai Emery was pissed. Even whether it was a red card or not, he knew that he was capable of doing that, and that it simply happened. With that in mind, there's a great article in The Athletic outlining everything that you need to know about who Jhon Duran is as a person, obviously through sources and everything like that, and sort of how he behaves behind the scenes, how the front office viewed him, how Unai Emery viewed him, how they were desperately trying to sort of get him in line. And it wasn't like he was being a shithead. He just lacks the focus to be a 90-minute execute a tactical game plan type of striker. So with that in mind, for the weekly what if, I don't know how much it actually changes what happened. Maybe he goes to West Ham for 50 million. Maybe he stays in Europe. But I think he still gets sold, because I don't think that they ever trusted him to be the guy as they continue to, play in Champions League and try to make, Champions League again this year. I never thought that he was going to be the guy. I think he was always the one who was potentially going to be sold, and there was no way you were going to be able to keep both Watkins and Duran happy. So I think he probably stays in Europe if he doesn't get the red card, but still gets sold this January, because he was antsy and wanted to get out of Chicago after 3 months of being an MLS player at the age of 18 years old. And then he did the same after being a super sub at Aston Villa and wanted to go be a starter at Chelsea when he was never a starter in his career yet in MLS or in the Premier League. So he's a bit of a nut job when it comes to that. And so I don't think it would have changed too much. He still would have been sold.
Do you think it changes his trajectory 5 years from now?
No. No. I think that he is going to be like a poor man's Balotelli. He's going to bounce around to 17 different clubs, and he's just not disciplined enough in between the years unless somebody gets a hold of him and puts his arm around him and does something, because apparently everybody at Villa tried to do that every single week and how important and how good he could potentially be, and he just refuses to listen. He's only 20 years old. Comes from a rough background in Colombia, but still, I just don't. I was
going to say, when he steps in and he's sort of this super sub role, and then he just kept scoring goals too, that's got to be impossible, because then he's going to look at you if you try and put your arm around him and kind of give him some advice and be like, fuck off, I'm just scoring goals whenever I go on the field. So it's like you kind of fucked either way. Mitch?
Thanks for asking about that red card. Yeah, I think no. No. I do agree with Tyler that regardless of the card, I still think he gets sold in this window. But perhaps it's not to Saudi. He is only 21 years old, and in my eyes, I think I can see him having a tale of almost 2 careers now. Go to Saudi, get your money, and then once you maybe mature a little bit, come of age, find your feet, and earn God knows how much money over the course of 2, maybe 3 years, then go dip your toe back into European waters for a little bit and see what Spanish club will take you, what French club will take you, what maybe Turkish club will take you, and you know, kind of reestablish yourself in Europe. I think that's an entirely realistic possibility because do you see him playing his entire career in Saudi? Like, I feel like that gets boring for a goal scorer, no? Unless you're Ronaldo and you're the face of the league, but even still, like,
No, it seems like everybody goes to Saudi, they get their money for a year or
yeah,
two,
like
and then they bounce out.
examples don't come to my head right now, but I feel like I've seen players go to Saudi and then transfer back to European clubs in the past 2 years.
Jota,
Thank you.
Henderson.
Yep.
There's a lot of guys
Yeah.
that have done that. Yeah.
So I can see that for him. But I do agree with Tyler that he moves in this January regardless, but the club might be different.
But it's okay, but you say like get your feet underneath you, get paid. Like he's not going to mature as a player over there. They're going to treat him like a god, which he doesn't need to be treated as.
Yep.
He's not going to be playing against real competition, and he's not going to be sort of asked to execute a game plan the way that he normally would. It's probably going to be him and Ronaldo just camped up top, sitting on the two center backs, and not being asked to do any defending.
That's why I say it's going to be a tale of two careers. It's going to say he's going to get tired of that eventually. I don't know many human beings that could just live with that type of environment from 21 until 35 when they retire or whatever age, you know? Like, that's going to grow old after a little while, bagging goals and just kind of not being held to a high standard.
Who's going to take a chance on him when he's not as fit as he should be? When he hasn't
chance on a 24-year-old striker?
But a 24-year-old striker who in his quote-unquote prime and when he had everything in front of him, tossed it away. Are people really going to believe that he changed or that like his mentality and his focus has all of a sudden been morphed and shapen while he was in Saudi Arabia?
I've seen Marseille take a chance on a player that doesn't deserve a second chance. I've seen my club take a chance on a player that probably doesn't deserve a second chance as well. Like, I think a poor mentality is a hell of a lot easier to mend, especially when you're 24 as opposed to 21. Some club somewhere is going to take a chance on him. Maybe it's an MLS club. Maybe it's a Turkish club, which, you know, who knows? But I think there's a market for talented 24-year-old footballers, regardless of the standards that they've been held to over the past 3 years.
We'll see how long it takes him to get sick of making $400,000 a week.
I'm sick of it personally. So this is why I can speak from that mindset. But yeah,
right, exactly, and treated like a king. Again, also like you. All right, we'll leave it there. Compliment quarter we're skipping this week because I don't think we really shit on anybody. So we'll go to round the world. Now, quickly, Champions League group stage is over. We still have the playoffs to be, determine who's going to play who in the real knockouts. Quickly, anybody have any thoughts, or any updates on their thoughts on the structure that last week and sort of the hectic chaos?
I loved the last day. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. But I'm also an adrenaline junkie, and 19 games going on at the same time is sort of. My cup of tea.
Yeah, it was tough to wrap your head around it. I mean, as somebody who was just betting overs, I was getting a lot of alerts, which hits the dopamine receptors kind of hard. I like that. I like that a lot. But it was so chaotic. I thought CBS did a pretty good job with their wraparound coverage. That's got to be a tough gig. I thought they did relatively well.
They did really well, given what it was, and knowing that. That Micah and Jamie and Thierry had never done the Golasso show before, because this was obviously the first time in Champions League that we had that final day like that. So I thought they did a really good job actually from a TV standpoint.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think I had my doubts going in. I still have my doubts about the new format as a whole, but that last day is undeniably a really fun time.
Yeah.
And the Europa League equivalent did not live up to the hype of its Champions League bigger brother. It was just more disappointing.
Yeah, it was. It was like you sort of think of Europa as this watered down Champions League, and that's what it felt like on the final day, where it just the games didn't really live up to the games on the Champions League. The last match day, there were some games that were just go bonkers. And then the Europa just didn't quite match up. Now, the matchups we got in the playoffs, interesting. So we have, what, eight matchups. So eight spots left in the final 16. Some interesting that we got Brest playing PSG. I guess a lot of people were questioning why they wouldn't have countries sort of split up, and other people saying, well, you can't do that because of the it would screw up the math or something like that. You got Brest PSG, Sporting Dortmund, City Real Madrid, which obviously is going to be the highest profile. Everybody's going to watch that one. Juve PSV, Club Brugge Atalanta, Celtic Bayern, Feyenoord Milan, and Monaco Benfica. I mean, there's a lot of interesting matchups there. Obviously, the Real Madrid Man City one is wild. They always play each other in Champions League, so I guess it's no real surprise there. But should be interesting. Those games are not. When is it? February 11th and 12th. So we got not next week, but the week after, right?
No, it's next week.
It's next week. All
next
right.
week.
Math was not so good. All right. Last throw of Drew's little comment there. We got the Minuteman on here, so we would be remiss in not delving into your MLS knowledge. It's been an interesting offseason for the league. There's been some big moves in the league, within the league, coming to the league. There's been some big outgoings, and maybe the biggest of all, Cucho, is, I mean, that would be a huge blow. So I'll just give it to the Minuteman himself. Hit us with your thoughts on sort of how this has all gone down so far.
Yeah,
and the big moves.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we're coming to the end of an era in MLS with Lucho and Cucho and those guys, which is really disappointing, right? Because it's been fun to have Columbus and Cincinnati, and it's not just because I live here, but it's been fun to have these two smaller markets that have brand new stadiums, have an enormous amount of success. Cincinnati obviously coming off of the triple wooden spoon winners, and then Columbus coming off of basically almost the franchise ceasing to exist, and both of them having as much success as they've had. But you knew it was never going to last forever. Lucho was towards the end of his career anyway, and he probably wanted to go back home based upon what he said in his comments following the end of the 2024 season, how difficult it's been off the field and everything like that. And meanwhile, you know, how many months have we been talking about this with Cucho, where why is he still playing in MLS? Why did he leave the Premier League? This guy's a baller. Like, he's incredible at soccer, and he's still only 25, 26 years old. Well, now you got your answer. He's going to go back to La Liga. He's probably going to light it up, and we're probably going to see him on an even bigger stage at some point in time than what we're going to see him in the next year to 18 months. So that's, you know, these are huge. And for Columbus and Cincinnati, you've got serious holes to fill. Not just because they're league MVP caliber, but because so much of what you do revolves around them, right? And trying to find players to replace them, whether it be on the aggregate or individually, is going to be really difficult. I think, you know, Dejan Joveljic going over to Sporting Kansas City, huge shout from, their ownership group. And we heard this towards the end of last year, that they're going to start to spend a lot more money because Peter Vermes has been a victim of his own success, you know, the sort of old adage of the lemonade stand and the surplus. And he's been getting it done and winning trophies and being in finals with, you know, like a dog shit budget. And the ownership group is like, why would we give you any more money? You're keeping us competitive with basically spending no money. And they're going to, and the ownership group made a promise that they are going to be one of the highest spending clubs in MLS throughout the next 4 to 6 transfer windows. So that should be exciting, and a new era for Sporting Kansas City. The biggest rule change over the offseason that has been really, getting my nipples tingling has been the Cash for Players initiative, which sounds like, you know, some sort of like charity fundraiser, but what it is, you know, a little bit more of an open market when it comes to domestic transfers, meaning if I'm the Chicago Fire and I want to buy, if I wanted to buy Lucho Acosta from FC Cincinnati, I can make a bid for straight cash. That's not general allocation money. That's not targeted allocation money. It's just fucking good old-fashioned hard-earned cash that I can say, I'll give you $7 million for Lucho Acosta. And Cincinnati can say, done. And it's as simple as that. It happens everywhere else in the world. Now it's going to be able to happen in Major League Soccer. Again, that's only, you know, domestically, and you can only have 2 of those players. You can only sell 2 of those players for a year, and you can only buy 2 of those players for a year. And the first instance that we have is the Houston Dynamo buying Jack McGlynn, who, of course, just was with the U.S. men's national team and scored a banger during January camp, moving from Philly to the Dynamo. Now, Philly, as we know, are notoriously cheap, and they're going to continue to be cheap because they feel like they have the youth model down pat, which arguably they do, producing the likes of Brendan Aronson, Aronson, as well as Kevin Sullivan and the whole thing. But they're going to move him, but they also retain the major sell-on clause, which, if you've been paying attention to the Jhon Duran saga, the Chicago Fire, as a result of Duran getting sold to Al Nassr, now have the largest outgoing fee in MLS history, and they didn't have to lift a finger because the Fire will get, more than $30 million for the sell-on clause that they have. So that's a big deal for Philly to be able to sell him, get cash now, cash in on it at the moment because they don't want to spend any more of the money that's in their bank, and be able to sort of get whatever Houston's going to get a chunk of for selling him to a European club. So there's been a lot of movement. It's been fun. The Chicago Fire have been making moves. Atlanta United setting a league record with this Manuel Latte. He's got a few names. I still got to do my research. I just only got my schedule this weekend, so bear with me. I still don't know. Still just figured out what games I'm doing for the first 7 weeks. But anyway, been a really, really, I think, dynamic offseason so far this season. And I think this is going to be a year when we see a lot of teams that were towards the bottom of the Western and Eastern Conference tables leapfrog and make huge inroads in terms of being more competitive clubs than what we've seen in the past. Charlotte, good example. Sporting Kansas City, I think, is going to be in the postseason. Austin's in a new era. Brandon Vasquez, the Albanian dude, the Nico Estevez era in Austin, which I still think is kind of bogus considering how much their sporting director, Rodolfo Borrell, bragged about how many coaches were lined up out the door from all over the world and coaches you wouldn't believe, and then he go and signs the guy who was playing the most boring soccer in 2024. But anyway, that's just my take. That was way more than a minute, but this guy hasn't been in the saddle in a while, in more ways than one. So I'm just happy to be back in the sack.
Welcome back. It's good to have you back. We always appreciate it. If you got a minute or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, doesn't matter. We got our MLS fill there. So we'll move on. Actually, quickly before we end up the round of world segment, quickly on the championship check-in, which is, we have this championship league we never talk about at all. It's such a cool league. There's so many good teams this season. There are four teams that have sort of separated themselves from the rest of the league. Leeds United is up top on 63 points, Sheffield United 61, Burnley 58, and Sunderland at 58. So three of those teams obviously are clubs that have been in the Premier League a lot lately. And then you got Sunderland, who everybody knows their story of going down to League One, and now they're bouncing back and they're looking good. So the top two of those four are going to get automatic, promotion. And then the bottom two have to go through the playoffs, which is just brutal. And then it's, 3 through 6, just absolutely brutal process. But it would be great to see Leeds back up top, because then, Larry and TJ would be more plugged in here. And then also I'm just personally, I got rooting interest in Sunderland. Good buddy Declan's Dave is a huge Sunderland fan, and I hope their story is obviously a great one, so I hope they get back in the big time. There we go. Now let's move to stoppage time, where we will start, of course, with Ivan Toney's best bet. Got the hat on. Overtrain is cooking, boys and girls. 4-1 last week, feeling good, looking good. So let's go make some more money. And reminder, this is the Overtrain 5-a-side best bets. So you're getting one a day, Wednesday through Sunday. These are all going over. Wednesday, we are starting. I went back and forth on this. I'm going to go with Newcastle and Arsenal. I don't know. I just think Arsenal, you have to get 2 goals. So you're going to have to go for it. Newcastle, they could get some goals somewhere in there. I think that there's going to be 3 goals in this, at least 3 goals. I know it's a controversial take, but I'm going with it. And by the way, there's not a lot of games either. So Thursday we're going to Iceland, where also League Cup. I'm going HK Kopavogs versus Vikingur Reykjavik, and all right, we got a special guest, unannounced guest there. So, all right, okay, all right. This is what happens when you have an 8-year-old. She's insane. Friday, we will go to League One in France. PSG hosting Monaco. Saturday, Hertha Berlin and Kaiserslautern in Bundesliga 2. I don't know. Did I
First time was right.
ruin that?
Kaiserslautern.
Sluten. I love my Slutes. Love my Slutes. Sunday, we are going to Luxembourg on Sunday. Swift Hesperange is hosting US Hostert, which obviously has goals in it, as everybody knows. So there you go. Overtrained, best bets, 5-a-side picks. Now, Mitchell, what do you got for us?
Damn, you stole mine. I was going to go with Swift Hester Blonde. We're going to go similar to you. We're going to go a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all powerhouse teams, all -1.5. So on Wednesday, it's going to be Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey, -1.5 against Leganés. On Thursday, it's going to be Liverpool, -1.5 against Spurs. And on Friday, it's going to be Bayern Munich, -1.5 against Werder Bremen. All three together, plus 360. 360.
I like it. Tyler?
I cannot believe these lines for the Newcastle and the Liverpool games. First of all, Liverpool is -425 to win the game. Tottenham with a lead going to Anfield is 9-1 underdogs. Okay,
in the game or to advance?
No. In the game.
Okay,
in the game.
That makes more sense. I thought it was to advance. Like, wow, that's even worse than I would have guessed.
No, plus 230 to advance, which is not, it's not insane. Anyway, I'm going to go with Liverpool to advance, and then I'm going to go Newcastle to win the game. Little parlay. It's like,
really?
About 3-1, a little more than 3-1.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. And for whatever reason, again, I can't. DraftKings stinks. I hope they're never a partner of ours. Listen back to this episode, but just a bad experience. Anyway, there you go.
All right, good calls. I was trying to get the odds for you, but whatever. We'll do that later. All right, we will now put a bow on this episode with everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. I've got a couple. I've got several written down, actually, but I don't want to take yours. So, Tyler, why don't you go first?
This is thanks to, I forget exactly who it was in the Discord, and hopefully I'll be able to pull it up in time. But Tucker Carlson was cited at a Saudi Pro League game. What are you doing, dude? Why? You've never been cited at an MLS. Have you been cited at an MLS game? Have you been cited at a Premier League game? Your first soccer sighting. And I'm not saying anything about who he is as a person, what he represents, or what channels he's been on. But, like, dude, you're showing up to a Saudi Pro League game? What? Like, come on. What are we doing? Big Jhon Duran fan. He was scouting out who's, competition is going to be soon. Ridiculous. Anyway,
that was the most random thing I saw on the Discord. Shout out to whoever threw that in there. Mitchell, who do you got?
Fuck that guy. My go is this week. Sam, I'm positive you have this one written down. Is Dutch side Fortuna Sittard.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Who fielded 12 men at the end of a game with some tricky substitutions. I actually don't think it was malicious watching the video, but you fielded 12 men and then equalized in the 90th minute, and that game finished 2-2. And so I fully expect that one to be appealed, but that is some creative tactics, which I'm here for. I love creative tactics. And then I do have one more. His name is Aaron Jakobshvili. I'm not saying that right, but he's a Hungarian goalkeeper. He's 18 years old. He plays for Barcelona's academy, and he saved a penalty in the Copa del Rey Juvenile, the young Copa del Rey. And then for his fifth penalty, he was the taker, Panenka, to win it.
Ooh,
ice
Panenka.
Cold. Ice cold. 18-year-old Hungarian goalkeeper, putting the team on his back in penalties. Just, I know you're not crazy about a goalkeeper go up, but you got to give him his flowers.
I mean, any keeper that can do a Panenka, that sounds like they might be a real athlete.
Yeah. You can probably coerce him to the dark side over here. And away.
Was he wearing sweatpants?
He was not. No.
I thought maybe all Hungarian keepers wore sweatpants. That's
a
too
vicious
bad.
stereotype. We don't endorse
that is. We won't perpetuate it, although it'd be a great thing if they actually did. All right, good shout. For Tuna Sittard, I did have written down. I was going to give a shout out to Las Vegas Lights, who did the same thing this past season. So they're sort of ripping them off on that. I'm going to give a quick honorable mention to Spanish referees who are just apparently all either terrible or just not making the calls that they're getting paid to make, because the La Liga or Real Madrid or somebody came out and basically said, yeah, we're just punishing like half of our referees this week. I know that there was the game against Espanyol, Mbappe got sort of, the studs on his ankle, which
kind of a play on the ball. I don't know how.
Yeah, that was bad. That should have been red card. I don't really know what they were doing there. And I do understand why you would sort of sanction the referee or at least the VAR, at least in some way. But then they were basically punishing like 10 other referees. So I don't know what's going on there. And they're trying to ship in English referees. Have you read anything about what the English press is saying about the referees domestically? Like, why would you want that? Anyway, my actual go is going to go to, and I mentioned him earlier, Jordan Henderson. So, our guy, Tyler's former guy, so he was stripped of Ajax's captaincy this week because he was allegedly trying to force a move to Monaco, and then comes out like immediately the next day or maybe the same day after a game and is like, oh yeah, that wasn't. I want to stay here. Don't really worry about that stuff. Like Jordan Henderson's sort of rep has taken some brutal hits lately. When he went to Saudi, he really got sort of up shit's creek about the whole LGBTQ thing, and then then he immediately left and went to Ajax, where he is now, and like apparently he was trying to force a move while being the captain. That's sort of a tough look. It's whatever. It's the business of soccer. I get it, but it sounds like maybe he could have handled some of those situations a little bit better. So shout out to Jordan Henderson on that one, and we'll leave it at that. Boys and girls, thank you as always. Tyler, Mitch, you guys are beautiful. I love you very, very much, and we'll be back bigger, better, faster, stronger next week. See you guys then.
Nice.
I don't know how you're going to figure it out, but I'm just going to say it. If I was listening